Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your 2026 annual astrology forecast. I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace, and this year's videos are so special because you're not going to just be hearing from me, but you'll be hearing from 5 incredible astrologers this year, each with mastery in their own area of life. Now, we've come together to give you a full spectrum look at your year ahead so that you can move through 2026 a lot more grounded, a lot more prepared, a lot more excited, and supported. Now, this video is long. It's long and it's rich and it's intentional so that we can go deeper, so that you have something to come back throughout the year and take a look at how it's shaping up with your life. So take your time, grab a cafe, grab a snick snack, whatever you like. Listen to this podcast style. Just give yourself an opportunity to really receive from us. Let every astrologer pour their knowledge into you and take your time to digest each section. Now, in the description box down below, you're going to find your timestamps for every section and each astrologer with their links as well, in case you want to reach out to them on their website for additional resources. Now, you're also going to find your 2026 astrology tools. We've got a beautiful downloadable guide for you, as well as your digital transit calendar from our friends at Wise Skies Collective. You can use my code Stormy2026 to get a little bit of a discount, and we use that all year long as we are traveling together. All of this is to help you be organized, be empowered, and feel fluent in the language of astrology as you are navigating 2026. So, my beautiful friends, take a deep breath, get comfortable. I've got my tea. Get comfortable, and let's explore 2026 together. Hello, beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to your 2026 astrology forecast. And Gemini, this year, I think is a little bit unlike anything you've ever experienced, or at least in a really long time. Now, some of you got a little tasty taste of it last year when Uranus moved into Gemini, but for many of you, this year, I think is going to feel like waking up after a really long sleep, right? Now, before we dive in, I just wanted to say this too. Because Mercury is your ruling planet, we're going to cover the Mercury retrogrades in a separate video dedicated specifically to that, but particularly because it is your ruling planet. So I want to give it the attention, the dedicated attention that it deserves. So we're not going to be covering that here. We're going to go over the major things right here. So let's start first with the elemental shift of 2026. Now, first, as we are transitioning to 2026, we're coming out of this heavy time of water and earth. And we're going to move into the air, into the fire. And this is where you thrive as an air energy. So we know there's some thrival, not just survival, already on the table for you this year because it brings movement, it brings clarity, it brings connections, reconnections, particularly in social spaces for you. Now, fire also encourages your beautiful air to have a lot of courage and a lot of passion and a lot of drive to move things forward. So, after years of having a slower, more reactive kind of energy, maybe even feeling restrictive to you, I think that this shift kind of feels like it brings your spark back just a little bit. And it also helps you make decisions more quickly, right? You digest the information you got more easily and more quickly so you can make a decision. Now, a lot of this is going to be activating your 11th house space of friends, social groupings, organizations, places that you are affiliated with, communities, your tribe. All of these areas are going to be really, really lit up for you. And your participation in paying attention to what you're doing in these areas, because the dreams that you hold for your future will also be directly tied to the social spaces where you are spending your time. So there's going to be some evaluation, reevaluation of who you are and where you belong in these groups. But the air strengthens your identity, your truth, the space where you're not really willing to shrink anymore and you have more clarity about why you would not do that. For example, and I talked about this with some of you Geminis through 2025. if you have the shift can feel like you're suddenly ready to restart. Certainly, when Uranus got into Gemini and moved your energy along, we started to feel that push. That was more creative. The projects you abandoned, ways that you wanted to move, you were like, okay, I'm ready to go this direction. But old friends, they maybe didn't inspire you as much. But in other areas, old friends or old connections, you might have actually called them back in to work on new projects. So I'll be interested to hear in the comment section down below what this is sparking up for you. Now, the headline for you, Gemini, in 2026, or really kicks in on April 26th, where we see Uranus, our awakener, our planet of liberation, the planet that comes and says, get the hell off the fence, make a decision, pick a direction, Gemini, right? Stop sitting here on the fence. It's painful. So it's going to come and officially start to walk in the Gemini energy. We got a taste of it last year, but now we're ready to walk. So it's bringing innovation, it's bringing that disruption to shake you out of where you've been standing in a rut for too long. Now, in the first house of your identity, your personality, your self-esteem, your life direction, and the way that you embody that life direction, Uranus here is coming to say, first of all, you're an air sign, so all of your personalities will need a reinvention. Right? It's like a multi-year, multi-personality invention cycle is up and available for you. It's not really subtle, it's not really quiet, but I do think that there's some freedom around it that you've probably been craving. And it's the kind of transit that brings in moments that rearrange your reality. Now, let me tell you, as a Taurus who has recently been shaken and not stirred for 7 years by Uranus, my body changed. The country I live in changed. I grabbed another passport. The things that I've done in my career have absolutely changed. And there was sudden clarity around all of that as Uranus was traveling there. So you can expect to see a lot of clarity about who you thought you've been and who you actually are now and who you want to be in the future. So if you find that moment where you're like, no, I want to change my look. I want to change my career. I want to change my relationship status. I want to change my home or my country, right? These are very real expressions of Uranus here because it feels like it's a lightning bolt of truth that lights up through your whole body and your whole being, okay? Now, breaking apart some of these patterns as well may surprise you because truly, if you've only been allowing yourself to go this far or get this high, you can start going higher, more expanded than you ever thought you were ever going to be able to do. So just expect disruption, expect a lot of energy pouring through your body. One of the tips and the tricks that was actually given to me from one of the apothecary schools when Uranus was traveling through my first house was to take warm Epsom salt baths a couple times a week to help ground some of that electrical energy out of your body because it is a lot for your body to take on as well. And if you're one of our primary viewers, which are women, it really can do a number on that cortisol and on those hormones as well. Now, if you are excited already about that level of change, then as we're coming into the year and you're experiencing this shift of Neptune and Saturn coming back into Aries and giving you a space at the Aries point to also begin again, begin with new fire, right? January 26th, we see that Neptune comes into Aries, followed February 13th by Saturn coming into Aries. And this is all lighting up your 11th house space. So you are really beginning again with who is the right tribe for me. February 20th, we see them come together in a conjunction right there at the Aries point, 0 degrees of Aries. It's a once in a lifetime reset point. It's really a big deal astrologically. So this is where your dreams not only are they clearer to you, but you're seeing exactly how to go at them. This is Aries energy, right? You see how to go at it because they're also quite grounded in reality. As these two planets come together, they're helping you to reevaluate what your future will look like. And you really started working on that in 2025. You really did. Neptune has taken you back at the time that you're probably listening to this in 2025 to the dreaming. You've moved back into Pisces a little bit into the dreaming because you got a preview of where you're going. And now you have to reconfigure it. And Saturn is helping you create a plan that you are going to activate as we're here in the beginning of 2026. Now, if you feel compelled, Gemini, to truly change groups, join a grouping of people, join a community, right? I had a client this year who genuinely let it go in 2025, let it go and said, I would like to spend more time with less clothes and move to a place where people get to have less clothes and it's more of the nudist lifestyle. That may not be what you are looking for, but where are your people? And where are you going to have enough leadership in your own being to step to the communities that will take you to the future that you want to experience? Okay, Chiron is moving into the vibration of Taurus this year. So we're healing the hidden, the quiet, the behind the scenes spaces. This lights up your 12th house space. Now, this is happening on June 19th. And when Chiron enters into that 12th house space where it's very private, it becomes a long cycle of healing, things happening subconsciously, behaviors, actions, attitudes, beliefs, illnesses that can be your own undoing. But it also is about the fact that you will be clearing those or working them or healing them through a spiritual lens, right? Your old fears that you have, the ones that you really don't want to talk about, no matter how big, small, or petty they are, these can be rising to the surface. Now, this transit is inviting you, first of all, inward because this is a 12th house space, but it also helps you to face the beliefs that you've had that have just been very quietly shaping these choices that you've been making in your life, especially ones formed in your ground, in your earth, childhood, right? Loss, experiences where you were told you weren't good enough or believed that you were told you were too much, your value wasn't really seen, maybe financial stress that is kept you in a scarcity mind frame or resentment, right? Whatever it is, this transit is about getting that fully processed. So if you do feel more sensitive at this time, more aware of patterns in your 12th house space that have been truly undermining your confidence and your presence of spiritual mind, right? This is a time to be taking it on. Rest, retreat, journal. Chiron in Taurus is also going to bring to task what I started talking to you about in 2025, which is how do you receive, Gemini? Have you mastered? Do you have a daily practice that brings receptivity into your life? If somebody gives you something, can you just say thank you and hold it without the blame and the shame and all the story going on, right? So you'll have an opportunity to practice this because Chiron helps you feel the shame, feel the fear, but realize you don't have to carry it alone. So many of you may have some real breakthrough moments when it comes to therapy or spiritual practices, things like that. When we get to June 26th, we're going to see that Jupiter enters into the vibration of Leo, and it's a year of voice. It's a nice year of confidence as it lights up your third house space of communication. So when we get Jupiter coming in and lighting this fiery, expansive place, speaking, teaching, studying, writing, redoing your website, things with siblings, with neighbors, this all gets a boost of energy, right? Because the transit's going to amplify the communication into these spaces. It's going to multiply opportunities to be seen, to be heard, to be speaking. Your natural curiosity with this fire vibration, I think, gives you a lot of like you're encouraged, your confidence comes up because you're like, hold on, my ideas matter too, which is such a beautiful way to see you move. It's an incredible year, Gemini, for content creation. I don't care what kind of content you create. If you create content that goes online, if you create content that goes into local brochures, writing projects, public speaking, podcasting, teaching, studying, having a sit down with a sibling, it's a wonderful year for that. So we can't talk about 2026 without also talking a little bit here about the eclipses and the nodes that are coming in. So in the beginning of the year on February 17th, first and foremost, we've got a new moon solar eclipse happening in Aquarius, lighting up your ninth house space, publishing, marketing, broadcasting. This is going to be a fresh start to expanding yourself out, higher education, spiritual beliefs, faith beliefs that you have had, maybe even things having to do with international travel. We'll see those kicking off at this particular time. Then we're going to have a lunar eclipse that happens in Virgo, lighting up your fourth house space, home, family, real estate, property. Now, you've been working on this for over a year. So this is going to be some shifts, some endings, some resets to what you understand about your foundations, a move, a renovation, some kind of emotional change, or changing your family dynamic for sure. When we get into August, we're going to have a solar eclipse that is happening on August 12th, and this is going to be happening in the vibration of Leo, lighting up that third house space as well. So a fresh start in how you communicate, fresh start in how you express yourself in some way. And really, I think that this can be kind of a life-changing eclipse for you, because some kind of project or something you're putting out, it's such a strong moment for your voice at this particular point of the year that it could, in that Leo fire, cause something to completely change direction. And our last eclipse of the year will be August 28th, with that lunar eclipse happening in Pisces. Again, this lights up your 10th house space, and you've been working on this for over a year in this 10th house department. So a culmination to a career, maybe something you found out this is really not working. It's not working. It's not profitable. It's not marketable. This doesn't, this role doesn't fit me anymore. And you are making peace over the next 6 months with letting it go. So something ends, but likely something that is better aligned is already sitting in place as well, because we have been seeing it, like I said, since 2025. When we're looking at these nodal shifts, I wanted to make a couple notes for you. First of all, the mean node, which will switch into Aquarius and into Leo this year, will be shifting on July 17th. But the true node will be shifting on July 26th. So if you're hearing two different dates as you're listening to the astro world this year, you just need to sort out if you're following the mean or the true node. Let me say this too before we talk about these nodes. July is wild. July is wild. So we will definitely be covering it on the channel, because there is a lot going on. But as that north node is going to shift into the vibration of Aquarius and that south node down into Leo, for you, Gemini, this is going to ask you to move from thinking small into moving into big picture thinking, right? You're moving from the daily chatter of doing things into the ninth house, where things are up, they're out, they're expanded. You're sharing your wisdom, that fear-based learning. It shifts from that into more soulful learning, where you're also sharing your experiences with life, because that north node in the ninth house is going to push you towards your expansion, publish, market, broadcast, travel, spiritual study, retreat, take people there, but inspire others, inspire hope in a more collective way. And that South Node, Gemini, is going to ask you to release so much of the mental clutter. You really just need to solve one problem, solve it very well for people, or be there in one way. It doesn't have to be in all of the overthinking. And the fear of speaking your truth or putting something down will definitely be lighting up, okay? All right, Gemini, man, it's a powerful year. It's a powerful turning point for you in particular, because it's a year where Uranus is really going to shake up and wake up your identity. Jupiter, though, will be empowering you. And I think that you become more authentic and more free this year based on how you're working with these energies, and of course, how they look against your chart, but will definitely change the quality of you, and that will change the quality of your work and your relationships. Speaking of relationships, I am going to leave you here and pass you along to Colin Bedell, who's going to guide you through your 2026 love and relationship horoscopes, so that you can see what's unfolding in all those relationship energies for 2026. I love you, Gemini, and I'll see you all year long. Bye.
Welcome to your 2026 Love Horoscope. We love having you here on Stormy Grace's channel. And speaking of love, it's important to remember that no matter your zodiac sign, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. So Gemini, I want to talk to you about the quality of your relationships from one Gemini sun to another. All right. So, Gemini, this year is really putting you in touch with a brand new context of the self with a capital S, because Uranus will return to Gemini on April 26th of this year, where it's actually going to stay until August 3rd of 2032. Okay, but let's stick to this decade and this new year. Thank you, 2026. So, what I want you to actually do is reflect on last year's summer. I want you to revisit the themes that emerged in your life from July 7th, 2025 to November 8th, 2025, because that's when Uranus was in the earliest degrees of Gemini, probably giving you an advanced preview of what's to come. So, Gemini, here I'm going to kind of offer a bit of a dialectic, which is where two things can be true at the same time, right? So you know that better than anybody, two for the price of one in every Gemini, right? So what I want to name and normalize for you, Gemini, is that you have this really beautiful ability to normalize uncertainty and not knowing, and offering curiosity, not just in big picture things, but in other people, right? And that's a beautiful thing, to set an expectation of, no, I don't know everything. So I'm just going to learn and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to explore lots of different things. And I'm also then going to have to set really accurate expectations of me to other people who maybe want perhaps a little bit more certainty and knowing and commitment. Now, we do need commitment and agreement in all of our relationships to determine what we're actually doing here. Otherwise, we stay in what couples therapist Terry Real calls stable ambiguity, where we're all consistently uncertain of what we mean to each other, right? So, the dialectic here for you, Gemini, is I want you to protect and advocate for uncertainty as best as you can in relationships, while sometimes acclimating and adjusting to, no, I need to be even more reliable with my word, with my follow through, and the accountability to whatever I just agreed to. Now, this is going to be a little bit more challenging for you this year because Uranus will enter Gemini, as I said, on April 26th for quite a while. So there's going to be a lot of unknown unknowns. And sometimes when we over agree and commit, then we can't engage in the unknown unknowns because we said yes to something 3 months ago now that we actually wish we didn't, you know? And so, Gemini, I really want you to try to advocate for, again, that spaciousness to allow the surprise and the spontaneity of this year to emerge, right? While doing your best to alleviate too much stable ambiguity in your relationships, and only agree when you're absolutely sure of it without abandoning yourself or trying to manage other people's anxieties about your own level of uncertainty. Okay? Now, regarding probably the most relational time of year for you, you're going to want to look to Sagittarius season and Sagittarius transits for the highest level of your romantic relating, because that's your polarity sign, and your polarity sign governs your relationships. And so, the one day a year where you can really allow the universe to hear your intentions for relationships are going to be the new moon in Sagittarius, which is on December 8th of this year. So that's your moment to not just write down the kind of partner you want to receive, but the kind of partner you want to be, right? Giving and getting. And then also, you're going to see the full moon in Sagittarius during Gemini season as another powerful relational reset for you. And that's going to be on May 31st of this year. So that's my quick recommendation for you around what to do and when, what to hold while Uranus is in Gemini. And then because you are ruled by Mercury, I think what's super curious is that this year we're going to have Mercury retrograde in all three of the water signs. So throughout Mercury retrograde, I want you to be a sign that allows for the implicit of the water signs to be a little bit more explicit, meaning, how are you translating the ineffable? How are you providing language to emotions and feelings that are really difficult to provide language for. But that's why you're the zodiac's messenger, right? Who but you can do this? Okay. And so there's also important as a reminder that with Mercury retrograde in the water signs, not everything can be explained, not everything can be told, not everything can be languaged. So, Gemini, this is an interesting year for you to maximize your fluency in the nonverbal body language, cues, tones, that sort of thing. Which, frankly, I'll speak for me. Let me know if you relate to this, but I don't do well with that because, again, I'm too textual, Gemini wordy. If I don't hear it, I don't believe it. But what the water signs say, well, can you feel it first? So that's my suggestion for you. And I'm now, I guess, saying one thing I love about each zodiac sign that's been emerging through this amazing opportunity. Thank you, Stormie. What I love the most about Gemini is the quality of their humor. God, we laugh so hard. And that, how healing. So, Gemini, thanks for making me laugh. Actually, really serious places where you shouldn't be making me laugh. But I'm glad you do. So, Happy New Year. You know I got your back always. And happy 2026. Bye.
Hello, Gemini, and welcome to your financial forecast for 2026. There are 5 things for you to remember about 2026. The first is that it's highly likely that before the end of the year, you will want to expand your knowledge, sign up for a course, invest in yourself. To do that, it would be wise before the solar eclipse in the middle of February for you to set aside some funds for doing precisely that. Another task you could undertake at the start of the year is to consider your network. That's going to become super important, particularly through until June the 19th. You will need assistance, whether or not that's because there's a problem within the family or a problem at work. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you will need friends and you will need that support. That isn't always such a bad thing. The second thing to remember is that on April the 26th, Uranus will finally enter your sign properly. It's had a little overture in there during 2025, but in 2026, it begins a journey which will last for a few years. Now, during that time, you are going to want to develop and put more irons in the fire. That's again where that network comes in important. It's very, very likely that you'll be developing new revenue streams. But when you do that, you also should have a savings plan in mind. Now, that's where a very interesting planetoid comes into play. From June the 19th, and just for a few months, although it does it properly in 2027, you get a little bit of an overture about asset management. Now, if you've never really thought about this, or how can you live more frugally or more thriftily, or make your money work better for you, this is the optimum time for learning how to do just precisely that. So you could set aside that time. That's another thought that you could have. But really excitingly, almost around the same time, Jupiter, which is supposedly the planet that brings such good fortune, moves from Cancer, where it's been in an area of your chart where you've had to think about money in ways that perhaps you haven't had to do for 12 years. It then moves into an area that is really interesting. It's where you can start to acquire knowledge and make money work for you better. It's good to have savings, of course, but it shouldn't be that you put everything into a savings point and you don't make money work for you. So I'm imagining that by the time we get to September, and probably around the September equinox, that you'll be thinking of ways and products that you and companies you might want to invest in. Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. It's highly likely that you're going to get tips from neighbors and from colleagues, and perhaps the extended family. You'll find ways to invest and very, very cleverly. Now, obviously, not every sign can be winners financially in any year. But if anyone can do it in 2026, perhaps Gemini can. Put those irons in the fire, learn what you can, and maybe in that course of study, the study has to be also about a little money management. Enjoy your year, Gemini, and have a few adventures. Uranus only comes into Gemini, every 84 years for a few years? Make the most of it and enjoy.
Hey Gemini, what is going on for 2026 and health-wise? Now, there's about 10 different transits I could have covered, but I'm trying to keep it to the ones I really want you to have a big focus on health-wise. I'm sure all the other astrologers have gone through amazing things for you. So, pretty exciting year ahead, lots happening. So, let's have a look at what's going on. Of course, we have to look at Mercury retrograde. I mean, you as a Gemini would never not look at Mercury retrograde, but all the retrogrades this year are happening in water signs. So my busy thinking, doing, Geminis are actually going to be asked during each Mercury retrograde to have a look at or maybe think about how you feel. You don't have to jump into the feel if that's not where you want to be, but really assessing not just your mental and actiony doing, but slowing down and really feeling what's going on during these retrogrades. Um, talking about the emotions can always be a great thing during this time. Taking the time out, I love Mercury retrogrades for everybody health-wise. They're like restock or resets every few months. So I really want you to approach each of these retrogrades like a pause to reassess, not push forward on your nervous system, not, keep, yeah, stopping and resetting, remembering to sleep, to turn off the phone. I would love all the Geminis to kind of each Mercury retrograde, a reminder of your digital detoxes or sleep hygiene, turning lights off earlier, colder rooms, getting enough sleep. Sleep is crucial for your body to heal, but also for your brain, one of your ruling organs, to kind of clean itself up and do its own detoxification. So each Mercury retro, I want like a reset of your sleep patterns, a reset of are you drinking enough fluids because you often forget, remembering to eat. So it's a reset of all your habits for the year. Getting yourself into some water, be it baths, foot baths, getting into the ocean, your wired out nervous system. Even though you're busy and you don't often think about hopping into water, water is incredible for calming your nervous system and kind of, yeah, decompressing and slowing everything down. So taking baths, drinking enough water, all that stuff. Each retrograde, that's your reminder this year. Sleep, fluids, drinking. Are you eating? That's my goal for you. Uranus from Taurus to Gemini. I know we've already had it a little bit. It's going to wire us up even more. So, I mean, Gemini rules arms, hands, fingers, like shoulder blades, collarbones, but it has the lungs and it has the nervous system and the brain. So with Uranus, which is like the higher octave of the nervous system and all the messages being sent, it's going to feel amazing when it finally enters Gemini, but this could power you up to a level that's pretty chaotic. So breathing exercises. I want you to find some type of breath work that works for you. It might not be yoga. It might not be some chanting, Wim Hof, whatever. Something, box breathing, alternate nostril breathing, something to really bring you back and expand those lungs. Because with Uranus, everything can get a bit tight and spasms and twitches. And we're going to need lots of electrolytes, lots of magnesium, bits of sodium in our diet. Obviously, if you have high blood pressure, be careful with that. We need lots of great oils to nourish your nervous system. So avocados, seeds, nuts. Um, oh, what else do you need? I'm like losing breath talking about Gemini and the lungs. Making sure you're sleeping. It will maybe with Uranus going in here, you might like, oh, I'm not sleeping as well. Magnesium at night is incredible for sleep. and relaxing, be it taking a supplement or through magnesium-rich foods, dark green leafy veg, almonds, some of your seeds and nuts. Again, just calming down that nervous system, getting out into nature, dispelling the energy, not just being up in the brain, grounding down, remembering you have a physical body, because it's going to be a pretty busy electric year for you. It's interesting in April when Uranus goes into Gemini, like permanently till 2032. We also have a huge, this is the day it actually does it. We have a huge amount of planets in Aries. So it's going to be this wind up, really busy time. So making sure you're really not over pushing it and then falling into a heap would be amazing for you. The breathing exercises, even doing vagal nerve toning, the vagal nerve, brain to digestive system, but it calms the whole body. Gargling, singing, humming, chewing gum are all great for vagal nerve toning. Doing some gentle exercise, getting out walking in nature would be amazing for you. Not getting stuck up just in the brain and the nervous system. Yeah, that's my big wish for you this year, because this is going to be here for quite a while and we don't want to blow out our circuits. We need to, yeah. I know slow is not fun, but you don't, yeah, just be calm with it. Chiron, Aries to Taurus. I'm more worried about your nervous systems than anything else, and your lungs. Chiron going into Taurus means we have a couple years until it's going to hit Gemini. So I'm not, this is, if we're looking at a solar chart, this is considered your 12th house. Chiron's about to start going through. If we were taking the Gemini sun and putting it at the ascendant, right? So Chiron going into the 12th house for you. The 12th house is what's hidden, but it's also epigenetics and ancestral things we've inherited to kind of work on, or things that were suppressed in previous generations that we need to bring above the horizon. So before Chiron hits Gemini, in quite a few years actually, Chiron going through the 12th is, a time to really look at and address. Well, you're going to need to focus on the immune system more than anything else. And also just, yeah, it's really about your immune system, and also what in an epigenetic level we've inherited around, Chiron moving into Taurus. Chiron and Taurus is about wounding around how we value our body. Chiron in Aries was wounding around identity and self, and we're still there. And as it moves into Taurus, it's about how we actually value ourselves. And that being in the 12th for you, it's a little bit hidden, but it's a great time to start playing with that before it goes into Gemini. Again, I would say probably have a look at where Chiron is in your own chart and maybe revisit what Chiron is about for you, or what you need to learn from Chiron before it wanders into your own sign. But overall this year, oh my gosh, what an exciting year. It's like you're getting plugged into a bigger electrical circuit than normal. I just need you to remember that you have a physical body, that you need to eat and be patterned, and set an alarm on your watch to ring at you for actually eating food and drinking enough fluids. some great grounding vegetables, sweet potato, yams, pumpkin, squash, potato, some great soups, things to really nourish and ground you, getting out into nature and getting in enough fluids. Those are my big wishes for you this year, Gemini.
Hey Gemini, I am so glad you found Stormy Grace's channel and welcome to your 2026 spiritual development forecast. I'm your astrologer, Tiffany Harelik. I write the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar, and we have a little code for you to get a discount for that. Outside of astrology, I have a master's degree in health psychology. I do a major event planning with music festivals. I'm a beekeeper and I have a publishing company. So, for me, I have a sun in Scorpio, moon in Scorpio, Virgo midheaven. After a near-death experience, when my sun in Scorpio progressed into Sagittarius, I had some spiritual gifts develop. So I've been on a spiritual development journey since I was a little kiddo. I started studying astrology in the year 2000, which seems like just yesterday. But for you guys, what I'm excited to talk about today is your spiritual astrology forecast. And so we're talking about the wilderness of 2026. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the presentation for you guys. The wilderness, what I'm talking about is just, we all have these seasons of life where we go through deserts and where we go through times of plenty. And as we're looking at the divine timing of 2026, I want you to consider it like a wilderness, like something that you're excited to go explore. Again, that calendar is at wiseskiescalendar.com. If you'll use the code Stormie 2026, we would love to give you a nice discount on it. And thank you so much. So 2026, we're going to have mountains, we're going to have valleys. There's going to be peaks and there's going to be low times. What goes up must come down. What comes down must come up. And astrology gives us that gift of good timing of knowing when. How is our soul evolving in 2026? So when we look up at the sky and we make these predictions, we make these forecast predictions, what is it that we are learning? How are we growing? So it's less about the exact nature of what you're supposed to be doing, and it's more about like, how am I growing through this? Every transit is an invitation for us to understand these eternal truths, what is eternal rather than temporal, rather than material. So what's spiritual astrology? We're just looking at astrology through the lens of soul growth. What's the purpose of life? That's the biggest question I get asked. And I know that you have your own answer and that my colleagues have different answers. For me, the purpose is to glorify the Creator, to enjoy His work, to love His children, to be with each other, and to just kind of be passenger princesses and really just give all the credit and glory to our Creator. So to me, it's just the enjoyment of the splendor of life. That's the purpose. And so as you consider the purpose through the lens of astrology, to me, it's always rooted in that. Another thing I want to share in terms of spiritual development, prayer transcends planets. One of my dear friends and colleagues told me that a long time ago, and it's such a great anchor, right? Prayer is more than studying the planets. Our guiding light is the creator, not the created, right? So we have all these little breadcrumbs that we're playing with and choose your own adventure style in 2026. And part of that ecosystem that you're going to look at for the planetary guidance for 2026 is your age, the wilderness cycle, and then the quarterly forecast, which I've also broken up into month by month. The wilderness cycle, if you consider us wandering on the spiritual path, right? Wandering stars, these are what the planets are. The Greek word for wanderer is where we get the word planet from. And so as we consider wandering into the wilderness, I think a lot about my bees, how when they swarm, when they leave their part of their colony behind and half of them go off with the old queen, they're going into uncharted territory. The scout bee has found the territory. The scout bee knows where they're going, but there's no home, there's no comb, there's no pantry, there's no refrigerator. They're going and they're starting fresh with nothing. And that wilderness heart and mentality is what I want you to carry into 2026. Just going in with a fresh, new attitude. So to enjoy this forecast, know your sun sign, you're a Gemini, know how old you are, and start to consider what personal deserts that you have been through, that you have been experiencing. I want you to also ask yourself what your creator calls you by name, not just your name that you were given at birth, not what society expects from you, not what culture tells you you should do, but your identity. And this could be 2 or 3 words. It could be simple, but it is profound when you step into that identity. Okay, Gemini, you are the messenger. Here's a message from Spirit. I gave you the voice to speak truth. You carry ideas like wind carries seeds. Use your words to uplift, teach, and connect the hearts of my people. Your gift is communication, teaching, versatility, and joy and learning, right? So how old are you? If you're 80 years old, you're in a ninth house year. If you're 28 years old, you're in a fifth house year, right? If you're 55 years old, you're in an eighth house year. So figure out your age, come over here, grab a screenshot of this screen, and use some of the themes here for your personal year. This will change when you have a birthday, right? It'll be the next house. Okay, and then also consider life cycles of the soul. Grab a screenshot of this screen too. If you are one of the special ages of the life cycles of the soul, you're going to have some extra lessons that we all experience in the astrological mandala, right? So when we're 12, when we're 24, when we're 36, Jupiter returns. These are years of expansion, of growth, of questioning of our philosophy, our beliefs, right? We have our nodes, we have our Saturn squares and returns, we have our Uranus oppositions. Take a screenshot of this and see which themes may be helping color the tapestry of your 2026. 2026 is a 1 year. It's about focus, right? So 2025 was a 9 year. We were integrating a lot of things, a lot of lessons along life's journey. We were wrapping things up and culminating and coming up with a sense of closure and completion. And so we don't need to take all of that with us into 2026. So decide what you want to leave behind and say thank you and gratitude and have a ceremony about it. Wilderness is not a luxury. It's something that we really need. The human soul really needs it. So this is a new year of fresh starts. And as you take that heart of wilderness forward with you, take that heart of wilderness forward with you. For Q1, right, we're planting seeds. It's a time of darkness. We don't know what's necessarily coming of it. We just know that it's a fresh new start. And out of nothing, something will occur. In the second quarter, there will be growth, right? That seed will then awaken and start looking for the sunlight. In Q3, oops, I've got that twice. There's going to be tests, right? You're going to have those moments of questioning, of temptation. And then in Q4, there's going to be a sense of harvest and renewal and a completion, a redemption story, lost and found. So we'll start with Q1 here, Gemini. Out of nothing comes something. We have the eclipse in Aquarius this quarter and one in Virgo and Mercury's retrograde. Those are the major astrological themes. And yes, there are other ones. It's just what I pulled out to work with. So again, we're looking at surrendering old cycles, fasting, clearing space, making a path forward, and not taking all the old baggage with us. The great thinkers usually had very long walks. And so there could be like a walking program or routine that you want to get into to give yourself some time to think. Your journal prompt for this quarter is, what new foundation am I building with prayerful direction? If you don't know, if you don't know what direction, stop and have a conversation with your creator. Just get quiet. You may not hear anything. That's okay. Wait, ask again. Wait, ask again, right? January is a 2-month and a 1 year. That means that we need to focus on right relationship, not just with each other and with our planet and with our communities, but right relationship with our creator. Slow down to feel all of the things, Gemini. I want you to pump the brakes. Again, take less into 2026. Go slow. Mercury's going to square Neptune. Chiron's going to go direct in Aries. To me, that's a little confusion, right? Mercury governs and represents the way we think, the way we strategically communicate, the pathways of ideas. It rules the nervous system, and it's in a square to Neptune, which diffuses, which softens and spiritualizes. So to me, it feels like we don't have to know it all. We can't know it all. We can't possibly follow all the rules. There's a surrender that's wanting to happen there with the way that we're thinking about 2026. And what happened if we stopped fighting and arguing and planning? What happened if we just relaxed into our own unique relationship, the 2 month, with our creator? The first 2 weeks of January are unique in that the Sun, Venus, and Mars all oppose Jupiter and square Chiron. So there's some tension building in the skies. And you'll see throughout the presentation that I have written these Sabian symbols when we have something that I think really stands out. And for this one, it's a woman in pastel colors, so somebody that feels angelic, approachable, soft, carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. So she's taking too much with her, right? So put something down consciously, not doing that anymore. I can't continue this part of the routine as we go forward. And in January, the fog is lifting, especially around your groups and your friends and the people that you want to hang out with. You know, Gemini, you are a friend. You have many friends, and they aren't all necessarily friends with each other. And so to me, it's like, just if you could pick your 5 best friends out, would they be the kind of person that you're developing into? Are you happy with the groups of people that you're spending time with, or have some of them come out of obligation? And are there some areas that you haven't been clear on that you're more clear now because you're willing to see what's really going on? In February, Gemini, I want you to be aware that you're having some sort of awakening going on with your core beliefs, and that could be disturbing or it could be exciting. So stay open to the conversations. This is a creative month where I want you to stay open-minded. You're working on a masterpiece. The eclipse is happening in Aquarius. There's going to be sudden social shifts, right? You're going to have the experience of seeing in the news the eclipse moments. There could be some major tech shutdowns or glitches or something going on with like the AI buildings, right? Like there's going to be some kind of news that affects the many people, right? Aquarius is the population, the populace. So where it is specifically in your chart, get with your astrologer, look at 28 degrees of Aquarius and see what planets are there. Yeah, but there's some idea that really opens your mind to a new path forward. And I want you to stay in the flow of things. So where do you get your aha moments, and put yourself there? Is it on a walk? Is it driving? Is it riding your bike? Is it in the shower or the bathtub? And make sure that you spend adequate time listening in February and creating and understanding what's wanting to happen through you creatively. March is a 4-month. This is a little bit more stubborn, stable, steady, grounded, concrete, but it's a 1 year. So we're just really building the foundation for something new that could last the next 9 years or way longer. So in March, Mars is in Pisces and Venus is in Aries. Those are very opposing energies. Mars, fire, hot, pointed, piercing, in a water fluid sign. And then Venus, laid back, relaxed, luxurious, goddess, receptive, feminine vibes, in Aries, hot, fire, pointed. So there's some juxtapositions going on in early March as we approach the eclipse, which is in 12 degrees of Virgo. Mercury will have been retrograde. It will go direct in Pisces on the 20th. Jupiter will go direct on the 11th. And around those times, those dates right here that I've listed where planets go direct or retrograde, you feel slower. You can feel a little bit more nebulous. And so just don't pack the calendar super tight those days. For you, Gemini, this could be an eclipse that helps you get your home organized. This could be out with the old and with the new. Virgo simplifies, is more minimalistic, is more organized. You could do something simple like organize your spice rack by ABC order. Or you could get caught in the weeds of overthinking and overanalyzing and just have a burnout moment where you say, absolutely not, no mo, right? So there's something that changes with this eclipse. In general, has to do with the workforce, the workers, the working class. Virgo rules our gardens, part of our foodways as well. So there could be a big disruption going on there. But from a spiritual perspective, right, I want you to just start at home and let there be peace. Let it begin with me. Let my home be organized, right? It could just be cleaning out the fridge. It could be something much, much greater than that. So take that into thought for your Q1. Some seasonal foods that will encourage grounding this time of year. For you guys, I picked out a citrus salad with mint. Maybe you could put some other herbs in there. And that's just for fun. It's not medical advice. It's just like playing with the herbs and the flavors of the season. In the second quarter, Gemini, this is about growth and awakening and the kind of growth that stretches you. So the flower head is opening, the roots are going down into the ground, and there's this natural traction where part of you is going up and part of you is going down. So we're rooting and we're rising, and both directions are pulling. There's a straightening and an alignment. Uranus is going to move back into Gemini. Chiron is going to move into Taurus. And then Mercury will retrograde. So to support your spiritual development, you're going to want to have some discernment. There's going to feel like a lot of big changes are happening this quarter. And in fact, it's one of the more intense quarters I have forecasted in a long time. So staying rooted in your prayer life is going to help you with your discernment, right? You already know what's right and wrong. There's a guilt that is like holy that helps you be like, oops, I got that one wrong. Let me correct. But then there's a guilt that is not. And so that is just voices in your head and a narrative that you don't need to pay attention to anymore. And the end can, like you can put an end to it. So a journal prompt for you is, where am I called to grow in faith and not fear? In April, it's a 5-month, and so we can feel scattered. The energy can be very disruptive and dispersed, but it's a 1 year. So there's going to be that, again, that juxtaposition of like, where do I stay focused and where have I given my time away? So in April, make sure that your calendar matches up with that thing that you're focused on in the 1 year. What is it that 2026 you're wanting to really work out between you and your creator? Mars is conjunct Neptune. We see that in the charts of many leaders. That's great. That's spiritual vision. That's the ability to go forward with a spiritual purpose. But then also the malefics, Mars and Saturn, are right in the sky together. And that can be sort of this like one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake feeling. And so that's very common in the spring, at least where I live. It's like start, stop. We get a lot of rain and we're going forward and we get a few blooms out and then it freezes and kills everything. So there's that start, stop type energy going on in April. Uranus is going to move back into Gemini and it will stay there for the long haul, right? This types of themes you're going to see are educational reform, fixing power grid issues, healing from EMFs, imaging with aerial photography, and extreme weather solutions. This is about being flexible when we hit an edge. So Gemini, for you, this Uranus in Gemini in the horoscope style of forecasting is going to fall in your first house of yourself, who you are, how you shine, your health, your vitality. And Uranus is very inventive and innovative and rebellious. And so I think that you are going to have this renewal of yourself, and it's like a reintroduction of yourself and a how you like me now kind of a moment. And you might even surprise yourself with what you're wearing, what you're saying, where you're going. And that first house affects all of the other angular houses. So attracting different type of people, doing something different with your home or your work. The banks of the river, we need Saturn, we need the banks of the river in order to have that Mars, Neptune, that flow, that spiritual creativity, right? So without the banks of the river, we're all over the place. We need structure and form in order to have that creative flow. The story of the starfish is the little boy is just at the edge of the ocean water, and all of the starfish are washing up and they don't know why, and he starts throwing one back. Throwing another one back. And the old man says, you're not going to save them all. And he says, well, I'm going to save that one. And so part of the message of April is to focus on the one. We can be really scattered in who we want to help in our humanitarian efforts and all of the problems that we see that need fixing. But can you come back and focus on just that one? And does that foundation start with you first? And so how can we kind of rein in some of the obsessive thinking or desires for change that you may be having? And just focus on you, right? Uranus is in your sign. And I think it's going to be a time of lots of activity for you. All right, Gemini, in May, cooler heads prevail. It's a 6th month, which I love. It's about nesting and home and family and resting. It's about sanctuary, and it's a Pluto month. And so Pluto is all about digging stuff up and turning it over and unearthing secrets and taking things out of the dark and into the light. It's that Phoenix rising energy. So it may be uncomfortable, but it has to be in order to get out so that it doesn't hurt, you know? It's something that purges, that cleanses, that detoxes. And so I just say go for it. Have a plutonic month. Express, purge, and feel better. You know, Mars is squaring Pluto like towards the end of the month, right? So just be careful. This is a volatile energy. This is red lights. April and May have a lot of intense volatile energy to them. So go slow, cooler heads prevail, stay focused on the thing that matters the most. And in May for you, I think that you're going to have a bit of a belief restructuring. So again, this idea that things aren't going the way that you thought they were going to go. So you have to keep an open mind, which you are already great at. You are already flexible. You already have those that ability to hear other people's ideas and make your own decision. But it is going to be something that feels a little bit more uprooting to you. And so knowing what your spiritual anchors are is what is going to kind of carry you through some of these more chaotic months in the spring here. In June, it's a 7 month, which is all about being quiet and introspective and studying all your spiritual texts. It's a month of nostalgia. Mercury retrogrades in Cancer, which rules home and family and the hospitality world, and chefs and nurses and people that nurse and take care of others and protect others. It could be a month when you are wanting to revisit old family stories or photos, or go to places that you've lived before, visit with old neighbors, connect with childhood memories. It could be a time when you're going on some ancestral travel and visiting places that have to do with your roots. Chiron moves into Taurus. And for you, this is going to be about releasing old pain and old stories and old narratives that you've told yourself. Chiron, right? Like, you know, in astrology, we have these themes that we say over and over and over again. And one of those has to do with releasing those stories, or stop telling yourself those stories, because they're not going to carry you forward, or they're going to carry you forward in the same way. But here in this month, as Chiron moves into Taurus, right, you're going to have a long, long time to deal with this. So Chiron was one of the centaurs, but he wasn't. All the other centaurs were those football throwing, pizza eating, sporty centaur jocks. And Chiron was not. Chiron was on the side of the mountain studying acupuncture and herbs. And so Chiron represents a part of us that feels small, hurt, wounded, different, isolated, off to the side, nerdy, niche, right? And so I want you to consider where you are a little bit nerdy, a little bit niche, a little bit different, and how you might feel that through your body, Taurus, right? Through that experience, that somatic experience of like, hey, this is my special talent. This is something that I'm good at, that nobody else is good at, that I'm going to stay focused on like a mad scientist in order to write a new story, right? Chiron self-sabotages and has to overcome his own wound that he inflicted on himself. And so those are those stories that maybe you've inflicted on yourself. Maybe there's some lies, some spiritual lies that you have believed and internalized and then created, right? If you grew up thinking that nobody believes you, right? That's a hard one to carry, because how do you think that the creator, how's your relationship with the creator? Do you think that the creator doesn't believe you, right? Like, what are some of these old childhood things that you can go ahead and use that energy of Pluto last month and that Mercury retrograde in Cancer to express some stuff that needs to come up and out so that it doesn't keep hurting? Okay. Light, fresh foods to celebrate spring. What about some spring rolls with some peanut sauce? Yeah, get you a screenshot and see if you want to play with some of those recipes. Okay, so here where I live in Texas, this Q3 is a time of dearth. That means that the honeybees don't have food to forage. The blossoms are done flowering. We have already had our successful spring, and now we're going into winter in a time when they don't have a lot of food. So anything that they would have gathered earlier on is what they're going to use for winter. So we can't over harvest honey from them, right? And this is what this time of year represents, this willingness to go into the desert, to go into the winter, to go somewhere where there's just not a lot of resources. We're not really sure what we're doing here, and it gives us this intense spiritual connection with our creator, because it's just us and God. And that's how I feel all the time when I'm in the bee yard. It's me and you, God. This is a time of starvation and revelation and temptation, and a quarter where you might be just tested, right? And it's not that God is testing you to, like, it's, you don't get to good girl your way through life. Believe me, if one could, I would do that. Virgo midheaven. But that's not the case. So here in this quarter, Gemini, I want you to have patience. I want you to focus on perseverance. I don't want you to get easily flustered or lose your focus. This is a 1 year. There's going to be some cosmic delays. Remember that if you feel isolated, lonely, different, and rejected at some level, that could be God's protection. Every time I have felt rejection in the last couple of years, it has turned out to be the biggest blessing. And I mean, I wish I had run so far, so fast when I had the moment of that feeling of rejection or abandonment or not being chosen or those types of feelings, because they were definitely not the right groups or people for me, right? So it turned out really crazy. I would love to give you the scoop on that another time. Your journal prompt for this quarter is, am I living aligned with my highest values and divine timing? So this time in the desert represents our journey home. And on our journey home, there's also these themes of chasing the wild goose, like going on a wild goose chase. This book, Chasing the Wild Goose, is by James Patterson, I believe. And he talks about the Celtic Christians as they call the Holy Spirit the wild goose, and all of the ways that they follow this crazy wild goose. And it's really like, I found it to be a very good read. July is an 8-month, and it's what goes up must come down, and what goes down must come up, and the mountains and the valleys and the peaks. And I see people doing really big things in 8 months. In the 8 months, they move. They go to foreign countries. They travel big. They spend big. They save big. They sell houses. They do big things. Now, that isn't, I'm not encouraging you to do that, right? If it's in your nature and you're ready to do something big, you might be feeling that sense of urgency or risk and reward. It's a big month, big energy month. If you can dream it, you can do it. All of these outer planets are talking to one another. They all have something, like there's a lot of megaphones screaming over a lot of megaphones over a crowd, and it's going to feel like, which way should I go? You might have a little FOMO in this moment. There's a sense of urgency. The thing I want to call our attention to is that the North Node switches from Pisces into Aquarius this month here in July. And to me, that Aquarius is that blend of mature, wise Saturn, right? And then also that rebellious, freedom-seeking, inventive Uranus. And so there's this kind of, again, this like mad scientist vibe with Aquarius that pushes us out of our ordinary and helps us to get those future trends into our DNA and just to see like what's possible for the future. That can be scary. It can be hopeful. It's where imagination meets technology. So yeah, I want you to face whatever needs to be faced honestly, openly, and then make room for deeper, more sustainable expansion. So just, this is another kind of purging moment where you get to really question your philosophy, your belief system, your religion, your spiritual walk, and make some changes. So this should be a very interesting month. August, we've got 2 eclipses going on, one in fire sign Leo, one in water sign Pisces. And so you'll see the big media news up to 90 days in advance for these, but you'll see things like fires and volcanoes in the water, and you'll see pipes burst and mold and pool closures and boil water notices. You'll see some of the environmental stuff out there in the media. This would be a month to play it safe with travel, I would think, because it also just feels very chaotic and distorted. And so you want to just go back to that 1 year. What are you focused on? Don't get too scattered. Don't get taken too far off the path. It's a 9-month. There's a sense of urgency. There's a sense of needing to get something done. There's a sense of trying to get something off of your plate. And there's also the sense of great change, great pivots that feel very unpredictable with eclipses. These Sabian symbols are cracking me up. All right, but for you, Gemini, This is going to be more about purposeful communication. So it's less about the fluff, less about the party, less about the gossip, less about the tea, less about the constant hits of media, less about the scrolling through social, less mindless stuff, and more depth, right? And so I want you to reach deep. You are a teacher, you are a wordsmith, you are a wise person that is able to work with any age level at any really just anyone. You are a friend to all. And so I want you to try to ignore the distortion, because the more junk you pour into your head, the more you're going to spout that out, or at least your frequency is going to be emitting that. And this is the time I want you to stay more purified and more focused and more intentional, especially with what you're saying and what you're learning and what media you're putting in. In September, it's a 1 month, so it's a double rainbow. It's a 1 month and a 1 year. It feels like a reset. It feels like, whew, got those eclipses behind us. Yeah, and it starts out kind of wonky still. Mars is in Cancer. It doesn't want to be there, right? We talk about that passive aggressive type vibes, like Mars wants to go and Cancer wants to feel, and Mars doesn't really want to talk about it, and Cancer wants to talk about it. And it's squaring Saturn in Aries, right? So there's this big tension release on the first. Then you're going to see all of these days I've listed are days to slow down here, days to just not overwhelm your calendar or your travel schedule. This is a reset month, so give yourself some room for that. Stay hydrated, rest up, read your good books, and figure out what you are seeing in your life at that time. It's not predictable as far out as you're watching it, right? It's more about going into the month of September, seeing what has occurred, and hitting the reset button between you and your creator. There are spiritual doors opening after all of this crazy, chaotic energy. So people are going to be more in tune with their gifts, their spiritual gifts, their prophetic gifts, their dreams, and their visions. When the sun moves into Libra here at equinox, you're going to have more of a fifth house element to your fifth house will be lit up, right, Gemini? So this is about creating something for fun. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. So I would definitely try to put a couple of crafts in your schedule for September as part of your spiritual development. Crafts, sometimes we stop ourselves from doing crafts because we're not going to do anything with them. We're not going to turn them into a business, or they're going to pile up in the closet. Just have fun. Connect with your inner child. Go back to your 7 or 8-year-old self, and what does she want to do? Does she want a new set of markers? Does she want to go for a joyride on the bike? Like, this is about creating something and allowing something to be created through you. And it's less about like what you thought you wanted in your ego, and more about like that thing that when you connect to spirit, what is that project that's wanting to get started, that's finally being born? Okay, so for some meals at the end of summer here, maybe we're going to do some corn and black bean tacos. Maybe you've got a little kind of a radish pico or some interesting aioli, or some kind of, you know how I like to do my corn is with mayo and basil instead of butter. I'll use mayo and basil, and I'll wrap it in foil, and I'll put it in the fire or the grill. And that's how I like to make my corn. And the beans, sometimes I'll do black beans, or I do like this canned ranch bean that I really like. So a little street taco maybe for you. All right, and then as we face the end of the year here, October through December, this is the harvest time. This is the renewal. What has been lost is being found. Uh, and this is an interesting quarter because both Venus and Mercury will retrograde in Scorpio. And so we want to talk about that what we're reconnecting to, and those is kind of in a more intense retrograde cycle. So during this last quarter of the year, I want you to write your gratitude list. I want you to mark what blessings you can celebrate. What's gone well this year? Make a happy sandwich with it. What's gone really well? What needs improvement? What are you really thankful for? Right? What are you trying to tie up this quarter from this year in order to make the path clean for the following year? So we've got Venus and Mercury retrograde. So all the RE words: recovery, redemption, rectify, right? Redo, reconnect. For you, Gemini, it's going to be a health and a language detox. So if you have been using dirty language, if you have been gossiping, if you have been not quite on top of your health, this is going to be a point in the year where you just can't ignore that anymore. And you want to clean things up. You want to have a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual purge and detox. Scorpio rules the elimination organs. So it could be that you're looking at some dandelion teas or something to support the liver detox, or maybe you're doing some sauna or some extra water hydration. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, but these are the themes of the signs and the houses as the horoscope is reflected to you, Gemini. In November, we want to think about what we thought we wanted, our strongest desires versus our calling, the thing that the world needs from us. November is a 3-month and a 1 year, so back into that creative zone. Mars is conjunct Jupiter and the South Node in Leo. So everything, it's like rise and shine. And is it that it's a superstar moment and you get like some interesting recognition from something you've done in the past? Like, I don't know, I have some photos on this old site, and periodically I'll get a deposit from somebody that has downloaded my photo and put it on a canvas. I can't even remember the name of the company, but it's something like that. It's like, wow, does this old thing bring up some abundance for me, South Node? Or does it cut something off? Is it the end of certain influencers or celebrities? Is there royal news? Does it indicate a super spreader event? Is it widespread expansion quickly that happens fast? I'm not putting anything bad out there. I'm just reading what the potential themes are, right? So for you, Gemini, I want you to go back to that honest narration of your story without spreading gossip, because it's like stuff that comes out of your mouth spreads like wildfire right now. So sing praises, sing blessings, speak healing over people. You are a great you have power in your words. They are your wands. And so use them wisely and understand that what you thought you wanted is not what you really, really want anymore. And so letting go of some of those stories is just a constant theme for you. That can be hard to look at on the front end, because you're like, well, how do I plan for that? How do I plan to realize that I don't want my plan to work out? You don't. You just slowly unfold. You have a daily prayer. My first prayer is, God, direct my thinking. Show me right thinking. Purify my heart. Help me love you better, right? And those little things, step by step, in slow increments over time, is going to align you with that calling. Ask your astrologer to help you study your midheaven and get more out of that part of your chart. December, this is a month for you to take easy, to relax, to go steady Eddie. December is a 4-month of stability, of just this constant and consistent routine that helps relax the nervous system. The sun in Capricorn is going to go into your financial sector, in your into your financial sector, Gemini. And so I want you to consider what healing needs to occur with your finances. This could be financial sobriety. This could be understanding that, how are you spending? Are you spending from a place of fight, flight, fright, shock, fear? Are you spending from a place of pressure? Are you spending from a place of being high on life and having a big, huge pink cloud moment? Are you being a good steward of your resources? And that's what you want to consider as you're reflecting in the month of December. Maybe for you, you're doing some cranberry orange bread that time of year. Maybe there's a fun glaze that goes on top of it. Okay, so some closing concepts for 2026 from your friend Tiffany here. Our guiding light is the creator of the earth, the moon, and the heavens. It's time to worship the creator, not the created. Prayer transcends the planets. Your spiritual journey home has everything to do with what you think home is. So if you're having issues at home, let's go ahead and correct those and soothe some of those wounds so that you can look forward to your spiritual home. The spiritual journey offers this. When we come to the end of ourselves, we return home, right? So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Love your enemies. When you love your enemies, you take all of that hatred and fear and stuff that they've cast upon you, and it turns into a blessing. So be that karmic boomerang blessing. Let's be the love that we want to see out there in the world. Let's magnify that and start to turn things around by sending out that loving kindness. Gemini, a reminder, you're the messenger. Spirit gave you the voice to speak truth. You carry ideas like wind carries seeds. Use your words to uplift, teach, and connect the hearts of my people. Your gift is communication, teaching, versatility, and joy in learning. The mountains are calling, Gemini. You got to go. All right. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm Tiffany. You can get that digital astrology calendar at wiseskiescalendar.com and use the code Stormie2026 for your discount. As you're going out into the wilderness of 2026, journal some. Watch what your dreams do. Watch your prophetic dreams that you're having at night. Like, let them speak to you. Change the story that you've been telling yourself. Free yourself from the cage of guilt and responsibility and follow the wild goose. Go on your wild goose chase. Let something that is wholly wanting to happen through you be created through you. And you'll be surprised what can happen if you'll use that one to stay focused. All right. Hopefully that's useful to you guys. I love you so much. And namaste.
Hey there, welcome to the locational astrology section of this video. I'm so excited to support you. My name's Helena Woods, and I'm a leading locational astrology and astrocartography specialist, traveling full-time around the world, data collecting and testing this information of how to be in the best places at the right times, using the power of astrocartography combined with transits and progressions. So if you don't know astrocartography, it's essentially a sub-niche, subdivision within the bigger umbrella that is locational astrology. And it's essentially the astrology of place, the astrology of location. Places have influence, places have power, and I'm on a mission to support people to unlock their natal promise and be in the places that awaken and activate aspects within the birth chart. The most important thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to note when transiting planets are hitting your personal planets. Now, in this video, I'm giving general descriptions for each rising sign. However, astrocartography is very personal in that your moon's at a certain degree. Your Venus is not going to be the same Venus that someone else's rising sign is, right? Our planets in our birth chart are in specific zodiac signs at specific degrees in certain parts of the chart. And so the key thing I want you to take away from this whole video is that when you go to an astrocartography line, let's say the moon line, for instance, you want to go to that moon line when a transiting planet like the sun, Venus, or Jupiter is going over your moon, because that's where we're getting the most acceleration, enhancement of being at the right place at the right time. Now, I want to kind of bring up an example of how you can use astrocartography with timing, as I mentioned earlier. In 2026, we have Jupiter in Cancer. If you have any planets in Cancer personally, or Leo, if you have any personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Uranus even, Neptune, outer planets, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, even the nodes, if you have the lunar nodes in Cancer or Leo. This year, if you have any planets in Cancer, this is the year to go to that planetary line that you have that's being transited by Jupiter. Same thing with next year. As we get into next June 30th of 2026, Jupiter will ingress into Leo. If you have any planets in Leo, including the lunar nodes and even the outer planets, if you have any placements in Leo, going to that astrocartography line as Jupiter is hitting it, so for instance, if you have Mars in Leo, or you have the Sun in Leo, or you have Mercury in Leo, going to the Mercury line when Jupiter is hitting it is a really cool way to accelerate things, enhance your life, and get a lot of cool opportunities and expansions and enhancements with that Jupiter transit. So wanted to just mention this right at the top before we get into the rising sign forecast. Look at the planets that you have in your birth chart. If you have anything in Cancer or Leo, this is going to be a major time to travel to those astrocartography lines to get the benefit of the Jupiter. Let's get started. All right, Gemini risings. Uranus and Saturn lines can be ideal places for you to make a trip to.
to travel to get knowledge and understanding from. And this is because Aquarius is in your 9th house of travel and foreign cultures. Ideal times to travel to a Uranus line or a Saturn line would be between February 4th and February 11th of this year, when the Sun and Venus are traveling through your 9th house of travel. So this sense of, enjoying being in a far off place, or traveling a long distance, or enjoying learning, taking a class, pulling up a podcast and learning and growing your mindset, and maybe being in a foreign country, learning a foreign language, or being somewhere different, changing your environment up would be really nice. February 4th to the 11th of this year. Other dates to keep in mind would be August 23rd to September 23rd during Virgo season. Mercury lines are places in the world that you might feel really at home in. An ideal time period to travel to a Mercury line for you would be between July 10th and August 7th of this year. So Mercury lines are great for seeking knowledge, understanding, learning new skills, communication. I find a lot of people who are in marketing or sales or teachers are teachers. They often live on Mercury lines. If you want to do some writing at home, or you love having a good project, definitely check out those Mercury lines as well. Another time period just to keep in mind for this year is between June 13th and July 9th of this year in 26. Venus will be transiting through your 3rd house of local short distance travel. So if you have any Leo placements, in Leo, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, etc., going to those places where you have those astrocartography lines would be a really nice time period to travel and make that trip. So June 13th to July 9th. If you have any Leo placements, go to those astrocartography lines that you have in Leo. I hope that this information supported you and helped you in planning your travels this year in 2026. And so if you want to learn more about this, you can check out my website at helenawoods.com and also get my free astrocartography cheat sheet. You can join my astrocartography newsletter, which is all free, at helenawoods.com/cheat sheet. All this to say, though, this is going to be an amazing year of travel. I'm really excited for everyone to be taking advantage of Jupiter in Cancer and Uranus in Gemini. Have a magical day. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here.